In 1990, Christopher amazes his teachers by finishing a test in a few hours, something that took Einstein 3 days. His older sister Michelle says he could start college early, but he isn't sure he wants to. As they leave school, a soldier sees Christopher's t-shirt, which has a cartoon robot on it, and scolds him, warning that war is coming. The robot, Cosmo, is the main character of a popular cartoon show. But since people are starting to dislike robots, the show gets canceled. Robots were first created by Walt Disney for theme parks in 1955, and later they were mass-produced to become the world's main workers. They worked without problems for years, but eventually they got tired and rebelled. They wanted their own rights and started protests, led by a robot called Mr. Peanut. Talks between humans and robots failed, and soon a war began. Anyone keeping a robot at home was seen as a traitor. The war went badly for humans. A soldier named Sergeant John appeared on TV, explaining why robots don't need food, sleep, or even blink. For 2 years, humans kept fighting but kept losing. Then Ethan, the founder of Center Technologies, invented the Neurocaster, a device that let humans control drone bodies with their minds. Now, they could fight robots on equal terms. In just 2 weeks, humans won the war, and Colonel Bradbury was named the greatest hero. Peanut meets with Clinton and Ethan to sign the Treaty of Surrender, while over 6,000 robots are locked up in the exclusion zone, a prison in the desert. Later, Ethan releases a smaller version of the Neurocaster for home use. This new model lets people split their minds so they can work and have fun at the same time. In 1994, Michelle is at home trying to remove the monitor on her ankle, but she quickly hides her tools when Ted suddenly enters, using a Neurocaster. He scolds her, reminding her that even though she ran away from all her previous foster homes, he won't let her escape this one. Michelle fires back, pointing at the pile of things he's hoarding and telling him that taking stuff from the exclusion zone is illegal. Later, she goes to class, where the teacher is also using a Neurocaster suit. All the students are forced to put on their helmets. When Michelle refuses, she gets sent to the principal's office. The principal looks at Michelle's file and assumes she lost her family in the war. Michelle corrects her, saying it was actually a car accident. The principal then explains that neurotherapy can help her forget for a while. Suddenly, Michelle finds herself reliving a memory of playing on the beach with her brother. That day, Michelle had helped calm Christopher down when he had a panic attack. However, Michelle refuses to put on the helmet and goes home. That night, Michelle had a dream about the car accident that killed her family. In the dream, she woke up in a hospital with a doctor watching her, but she couldn't remember their face. Suddenly, in the present, Michelle wakes up to a noise outside. She looks out the window and sees a shadow moving in the yard. Grabbing a flashlight, she steps outside. Suddenly, she spots an eye reflecting off a bottle, and then a table falls over, scaring her. She runs back inside to warn Ted, but he is too lost in the Neurocaster world to hear her. Before she can do anything, the intruder breaks in. Michelle quickly hides under her bed, but when the intruder lifts the bed with ease, she sees its face. It's a robot that looks like Cosmo. Terrified, Michelle runs to a corner of the room. The robot gestures to her, trying to show he's looking for her. He can't speak, so he opens his head, asking Michelle to fix his voice circuit. But even after she tries, he can only say a few pre-recorded phrases. Then, Cosmo grabs a picture of Michelle and her brother, pointing between himself and Christopher, as if saying they are the same person. Michelle refuses to believe him. She yanks the picture from his hands, making him stumble backward and crash into the shelves. The noise wakes Ted up, and he rushes to Michelle's room, finding Cosmo there. He immediately blames Michelle and starts yelling at her. They argue until Ted shoves her into the robot. Cosmo then makes a familiar gesture, the same one Christopher used to do. This convinces Michelle that Cosmo is telling the truth. Suddenly, Cosmo pushes Ted against the wall. Angry, Ted grabs a golf club and tries to hit Cosmo, but the robot easily snaps the club in half and shoves Ted again. This time, Ted gets hurt and starts bleeding. Panicking, he runs to call 911, but before he can, Michelle tases him until he passes out. Michelle and Cosmo quickly jump into Ted's car, and Cosmo easily removes the monitor from her ankle. Michelle doesn't know how to drive, but she figures it out as they go. Meanwhile, Ted chases them using his Neurocaster, but the car throws him off, and Michelle and Cosmo manage to escape. The next morning, the car stops in the middle of the road because of a flat tire. Michelle checks the trunk for a spare, but it's broken too. Frustrated, she starts asking Cosmo a lot of questions. He explains that Christopher is still alive and controlling him from far away. When Michelle asks how to find her brother, Cosmo points to a sign with the Center Company logo. Using a Dr. Pepper can and some gestures, Cosmo tries to explain something about a doctor with glasses. This makes Michelle remember waking up after the accident. Now, she finally recalls Dr. Amherst's face and how he told her that Christopher had died in the hospital. Michelle then pulls out a map, and Cosmo points to a spot in the middle of the exclusion zone. Since it's a dangerous place, they need a plan to get inside. Michelle remembers all the illegal stuff Ted bought and finds a box in the trunk with the sender's P.O. box address in New Mexico. They decide to track this person down, hoping they can help. The two sneak onto a train for part of the journey and walk the rest. By evening, Michelle stops at a store to buy food. When she comes out, she sees a truck coming and quickly pulls Cosmo into an alley to hide. The truck driver turns out to be John, the owner of the P.O. box they were looking for. Michelle watches as he collects a large amount of money from it. Then, a man appears using a neurocaster to buy a gun from John. Suddenly, the client turns the gun on John, threatening to shoot him. But before he can, an electric shot shuts off his neurocaster. The shot was fired by Herman, John's robot partner, who helps move the fallen machine while talking about taking its parts. While they're distracted, Michelle and Cosmo quietly sneak into the back of the truck. Meanwhile, Bradbury discovers Ted's abandoned car. The next day, the truck arrives at an old mine near the exclusion zone. John and Herman unload their latest finds, not realizing Michelle and Cosmo are hiding inside a box. As John and Herman argue about missing cables, Michelle tries to sneak away, but Cosmo accidentally activates a singing fish toy, making noise and giving them away. John and Herman quickly surround them. Michelle explains that she just needs a guide into the exclusion zone, but John thinks she's crazy. Just then, the elevator goes up, and John realizes someone followed them. The group quickly hides. When the elevator comes back down, Bradbury steps out. He announces that the Robot Deactivation Task Force is taking over this place and orders John and Michelle to come out with their hands up. John tries to act like Michelle is his sister, but Bradbury sees through the lie and says she's under arrest. Herman tries to shoot Bradbury with his electric beam, but Bradbury notices and pulls John in front of him as a shield. Then, Bradbury opens fire, destroying parts of the room while everyone scrambles to hide. When he corners the robots, Michelle rushes in and hits his arm with a fire extinguisher, but Bradbury grabs it from her and smashes it. As smoke fills the room, Michelle claps her hands, turning off the lights. Suddenly, the fish decorations start singing again, distracting Bradbury. John takes the chance to shoot him from behind, but the bullets do nothing against his neurocaster body. Bradbury quickly breaks John's gun and grabs him by the neck. To save him, Michelle and Cosmo surrender. Bradbury throws John aside and starts walking toward them, explaining that Cosmo is marked for deactivation. Just then, Herman drops a giant crane claw on Bradbury, trapping him. The group quickly jumps into a mining cart to escape, but John struggles to find the right key. This gives Bradbury enough time to break free. He shoots the cart to knock it down and then tries to shoot Cosmo, but Herman disarms him again. Now both robots start fighting Bradbury. Meanwhile, Michelle finds a bulldozer and slams it into Bradbury, pinning him against the wall. The impact causes rocks to fall, burying him. As the mine starts collapsing, the group rushes to escape. Watching his home get destroyed, John screams in frustration and blames Michelle for ruining everything. But before he can say more, strange noises echo nearby. The group quickly hides in a cave and watches as scavenger robots move around, searching for spare parts to repair themselves. When John sees a chance, he steps out and destroys one of the scavenger robots so he can reach his garage. Inside, he has a van and a giant suit that Herman can use to make himself bigger. After a lot of arguing, Michelle finally convinces John to help her. A few minutes later, Michelle, John, and Cosmo are inside the van, which is being carried by Herman in the giant suit. They enter the exclusion zone, where Michelle sees broken robots scattered all over the ground. Meanwhile, Ethan is using his neurocaster to relive a memory with his late mother. But suddenly, the device malfunctions, forcing him to shut it off. Frustrated, he yells at his scientists, demanding answers. The scientists tell him that Christopher has escaped. If they don't find him by Friday, the entire company will fall apart. Desperate, Ethan meets with Bradbury in the virtual world. He knows Cosmo is on Bradbury's target list and offers him a deal. Instead of turning Cosmo over to the authorities, Bradbury should bring him to Ethan's company instead. Back in the mine, Bradbury's neurocaster reactivates. Meanwhile, in the desert, Michelle and the group are talking about searching an abandoned mall for food when a robot spots them and suddenly throws a fridge at them. The impact shatters the van's front window. Herman tries to run, but the robot keeps throwing objects, eventually knocking him down. The van flips over, and before they can escape, a group of robots surrounds them. The robots capture them and take them inside the mall, where an entire society of machines exists. Outside, a giant robot watches them through the window. Mr. Peanut arrives and apologizes for capturing them. He explains that the robots thought they were dangerous scavengers. When Michelle tells him about her situation, Peanut mentions that Dr. Amherst once visited this place, but he doesn't know where the doctor is now. Michelle wants to leave right away to continue searching, but John reminds her how dangerous it is at night. He convinces her to wait until morning. Later, after everyone has fallen asleep, a male robot suddenly appears, asking for Christopher. Cosmo raises his hand, and the robot gives him a postcard left by Amherst. The card has an address written on it, along with a note saying Amherst will be waiting there. But the address is in scavenger territory, meaning they can't go there without a plan. Peanut overhears their conversation and introduces them to a training robot. However, the robot keeps malfunctioning while trying to teach them how to fight the scavengers. In the morning, Bradbury arrives at the exclusion zone and watches the mall from a distance. He sees the group leaving in Peanut's car. They drive all day, and by nightfall, they reach an abandoned amusement park where the address is supposed to be. Michelle notices lights inside one of the attractions and assumes someone must be there. Suddenly, a giant clown head lights up and creepy robots start appearing around them. The group immediately runs, shooting at any robots that get too close. Peanut tries to talk to them, but the robots only growl. They reach the building with the lights, but the doors are fake. With the enemy closing in, they have nowhere to go. Just then, more lights turn on, music plays over the speakers, and fire bursts from a few statues. The robots step back in fear. A trapdoor suddenly opens beneath the group, making them slide down into a hidden tunnel. In an underground room, they finally meet Amherst. He is excited to see the postcard in Cosmo's hand. Michelle immediately pushes him and demands answers about Christopher. Amherst finally reveals that Christopher is being held at Centra's labs in Seattle. After the accident, doctors ran some routine tests on Christopher. The MRI machine alerted the hospital that he was special. He was exactly what they needed to win the war, so the doctor allowed Sentry to take him and lied to Michelle, saying he had died. Amherst turns on a computer and plays a video of an experiment. Christopher had been in a coma, and they thought he would never wake up. So they connected his brain to the Neurocaster network to keep it running. Amherst admits he isn't proud of this, but says it was necessary to save the world. He adds that if they hadn't taken Christopher, he would have died in bed. 13 months after the experiment started, Christopher woke up. Amherst wanted to disconnect him, but Ethan refused and even threatened to kill Amherst if he tried. Fearing for his life, Amherst decided to run away. But before leaving, he secretly created a small connection between Christopher and the outside world. He also gave Christopher the location of the mall so he could find a new family among the robots. Michelle angrily says that Christopher already had a real family. In response, John punches Amherst for her. At that moment, Bradbury arrives outside and shoots the entrance to get into the tunnel. He slides down but finds the room empty. Suddenly, the lights go out and Peanut tackles Bradbury from behind, slamming him against an electric grid. Bradbury's Neurocaster gets electrocuted for a few seconds, making him drop his gun, but he quickly pushes Peanut off and recovers. A fight breaks out, but Bradbury is stronger and quickly overpowers him. Meanwhile, the rest of the group is trying to sneak away, but they stop when they hear a noise. A group of soldier Neurocasters appears in the air and lands around them, demanding that they surrender. The training robot starts shooting balls so hard that he manages to break a few of the soldiers' helmets. Ethan is watching everything through the cameras and orders the soldiers to capture Cosmo, even if they have to kill everyone else. Cosmo throws a ball to distract one soldier, and Michelle jumps in, spraying paint at him until his propeller malfunctions, making him crash into the ceiling. When another soldier tries to grab her, Amherst shoots him down and tells Michelle and Cosmo that he knows a way out. John and the other robots keep fighting, using whatever weapons they can find. Back in the underground room, Bradbury rips off Peanut's hat. At the same time, a group of soldiers arrives at the mall. Then, Bradbury walks outside and starts shooting at the amusement park attractions randomly. Amherst tells his friends to run before stepping forward to face Bradbury. He dares Bradbury to shoot him, but Bradbury hesitates. He doesn't want to kill a human. Seeing this, Ethan takes control of a Neurocaster and shoots Amherst himself. The doctor falls onto some debris where a metal bar impales him, killing him instantly. Michelle and Cosmo try to escape, but soldiers surround them. One soldier grabs Michelle while another takes Cosmo and flies away. Before leaving, Bradbury shoots the Neurocaster holding Michelle and tells her to go home. Then, he flies off too. The next morning, Michelle and the others return to the mall, only to find it in ruins. Most of the robots have been destroyed. Meanwhile, Cosmo is taken to Sentry's lab, where he is reunited with Christopher's body. As Ethan connects Cosmo to the system, Bradbury realizes he was tricked. Cosmo isn't just a robot, he's a real boy. Furious, Bradbury confronts Ethan. But Ethan reminds him that Christopher helped win the war and that sacrifices must be made for progress. Back at the mall, John encourages Michelle not to give up and promises to help her if she chooses to keep fighting. Michelle then checks Amherst's computer and finds the codes to leave the exclusion zone, along with the location of the Seattle lab. She also learns that if Christopher is disconnected, the entire Neurocaster system and Sentry itself will shut down. Just then, Peanut returns and reminds Michelle that he once signed a peace treaty. But Michelle tells him the attack on the mall means the treaty no longer matters. With that, John, Michelle, and the remaining robots use old trucks to leave the desert and head toward Seattle. Herman even finds a new giant suit and starts throwing objects at the center lab, breaking its windows. Ethan quickly sends all his soldiers out to stop the attack. To distract them, Herman and John run off, leading the soldiers away and giving Michelle and Amherst's computer a chance to sneak into the building. As soldiers arrive, John shoots at them, and Herman crushes them with his huge arms. But one of the Neurocasters explodes, damaging Herman's suit. Luckily, Herman has another smaller suit hidden inside the first one. He breaks free and saves John so they can keep running. Once the soldiers are far enough away, the rest of the robots join the battle too. Angry, Ethan rushes to his office and puts on a secret helmet that lets him control a powerful Neurocaster. He enters the fight and easily defeats many of the robots. Inside the main lab, Amherst's computer pretends to be a dangerous, crazy robot to scare away the scientists. Michelle finds her brother's body and sees he's still alive. But to talk to him, she'll need to use a Neurocaster. At the same time, Bradbury walks outside and tells Peanut where Ethan is hiding. He says Ethan is even less human than a robot. Then Bradbury takes off his Neurocaster, finally deciding to stop fighting in the war. Michelle puts on the helmet and finds herself in a memory of her last Christmas with Christopher. She tells him she wants to save him, but he explains that his body is too weak, and if she disconnects him, he'll die. Still, he doesn't want to live trapped like this anymore, so he asks her to go through with it. While this happens, Ethan destroys Herman's last suit. Herman is badly hurt, and John runs to help him. But it's too late. Just then, Peanut finds Ethan and says he wants to talk about a new peace deal. Back in the lab, Michelle doesn't want to disconnect her brother because she can't stand to lose him again. But Christopher explains he hasn't felt anything for years, and he's already lost. He says helping their friends is more important now. After crying together, Michelle says goodbye and returns to the real world to disconnect him. All the Neurocasters shut down immediately, and the robots cheer. They've won. John is still heartbroken about Herman, but then Herman's head opens to reveal a tiny robot inside. He's still alive. All over the world, chaos breaks out as computers stop working. The news reports Sentry's experiments on a child, and Ethan is arrested. People start demanding that the exclusion zone be shut down. Back in the desert, John and the robots help Michelle record a video where she tells people to take off their helmets and enjoy the real world again. Meanwhile, Cosmo has been thrown into the trash, but suddenly we see the reflection of his head in the water,